Good morning and welcome back to Margin. This morning we're going to talk about simplifying your life and legacy. So let's jump right into it. So oftentimes we complicate aspects of life unnecessarily. At least I do. I don't know about you, but we think that the shuffling of our debt to outsmart rewards programs and get extra flight miles and so on and so forth, over leveraging ourselves to take advantage of cheap money or low interest rates, or taking investment risks in asset classes we don't understand is somehow gaining us a competitive edge or an advantage of some kind. Now, we not only do this with our money, but we actually do this with our time, our schedules, thinking that maxing out our schedules, being available to our workplace 24/7, being overbooked with social events, and filling our time with making sure that we're up to speed on everything happening in the media and social media is just going to give us some competitive advantage otherwise. But it's just not true. And the truth is, it leaves us stressed out, checked out, and eventually burnt out because we put so much energy in so many different directions with no focus. So I've taken a lot of time to reflect on this area, as I definitely struggle with FOMO, just the fear of missing out. And I would just encourage you to do the same, to reflect on your life, thinking through what fills your time, how to opt in for upgrades from the current schedule that you have so that you are improving your life and lifestyle. Now, figuring out how to leverage your greatest abilities, your greatest advantages, instead of trying to do everything, will bring a great deal of peace to your life. It's easy to become a jack of all trades, one who is current on sports stats, media stunts, and who is dating who on social media. But how much of this actually matters, actually translates to real life, and actually contributes to the world that you are building individually or as a family unit? So I think this is a fair question, as we all need to figure out the essentials and non-essentials of our lives, defining why we do what we do, what we will focus on, who we will focus on being present with, and how we will make a difference, and to what extent. These things are especially important when defining the legacy we want to leave behind. Now, it should include so much more than just financial components. Now, we've talked a lot about that, but it should also include those aspects and encompass those aspects of asking the why, the what, the who, the how, and to what extent you want to have an impact, and really being able to define that so you're focusing your precious time on the aspects that matter most. Now, part of leaving a proper legacy is simplifying things in your world so that you don't create a wild goose chase of a situation for your executor and beneficiaries, and trying to figure out where you left key items like critical documentation. Now, that's the whole goal in this process, is really trying to simplify things, trying to organize things so that when you're leaving a legacy, you're leaving the best legacy possible. Now, this whole simplification process will depend on your personality and how detail-oriented you are. The important part is to utilize trusted advisors to set up the key aspects of your estate, but work to simplify how complicated your estate is. Of course, if you can at all simplify it. Your trusted advisor may communicate the validity of having more complexity in certain areas for tax benefits or whatever the case may be. But to your ability, trying to keep things as simple as possible will ensure that you are passing on that legacy, and it continues to be a blessing to the recipients. Now, complication leads to inaction. We see this in so many aspects of life. which basically means that when you are trying to overcomplicate aspects of life, or you may see something as being too complicated, these both will lead you to not acting, not doing anything at all because of the complexity of it. Now, I believe this is why far too many people don't go through the process of creating a will, organizing their finances, and going through a life simplification process like we are discussing here. So I would simply start with a spreadsheet or even just a legal pad. Walk through your home, garage, basement, attic, storage unit, or any other area that you keep your valuables, and document what you specifically value. Now, this is different from the process we discussed where you're taking an inventory of what you own so that those items can be documented individually for insurance purposes in the event of a fire, a break-in, flood, or act of God otherwise. Now, the purpose here is to either use that inventory that you've already created and go line by line to designate it to someone in particular who you believe will benefit from that item and value it accordingly. And so that is the purpose here instead of just the inventory itself, which is just the assets or just the inventory. So if you have not documented the contents of your dwelling, use this opportunity to get additional information off of certain products, like a product or serial number for that product. A photo of that item and the estimated value so that the person who you want the item to go to actually has more context for that item. So ensuring that you are organizing the aspects of your life that are especially important to you, like family heirlooms that you want to pass on, will ensure that those items go to the right individual. Now, this means that there are a lot of things that you may think are valuable that someone else may not know is actually valuable, or it may not be valuable to them just because they don't have that context. So you may have a set of baseball cards, a collection of baseball cards that you got from your grandfather. Your daughter, though, may know that you love the sport, but she may not know what your hopes are for that collection of cards or the context around the value of those cards, because it had not been communicated before. So therefore, that collection, unfortunately, may be donated when, in fact, it is a family heirloom that you intended to go to a certain family member. Now, this is just a simple example, but I'm sure you can think of certain situations like this where you have heirlooms that you want to make sure are passed to the right person. And you may be going through this process just for the documentation process of those assets, or you may be setting it up to figuring out who those should be designated to. But either way, once you go through this process, the heavy lifting is done, whether it's for an insurance purpose or it's for a legacy purpose in regards to who those items will be passed to. Then I would recommend that at this point, each year, you will update that inventory based on those items that you discarded, you donated, or gave away, or gave to the individual, the beneficiary, before your passing, and those items that you purchased, that you brought into your home. Now, this simplification process can only occur once you know what you have and have documented what's actually important to keep. Now, in this process, you will most likely find that you have a lot more stuff than you realize, and more importantly, probably a lot more than you have attachment to. And so this is a perfect opportunity for you to go through a process of simplification of what you own. Now, you can take and apply a number of different approaches to simplify what you own, but I would just recommend that you take the opportunity to go in a certain order. So I outlined 8 different basically steps that you would take as a baseline, ensuring that you are working your way through organizing and downsizing these items. Now, this first aspect is paperwork. We all deal with a certain amount of paperwork, and it can be in filing cabinets, it can be sitting on your computer desk, or it can be on an external hard drive already downloaded, but keeping in mind organizing that paperwork will be especially important. Aspect number 2 is clothing. Clothing in your closets, attics, basements, wherever it is, but really going through and organizing that. Now, the third aspect is books or magazines, if you still have those, of course, on your bookshelves, in boxes in your garage, but really getting those organized. Now, the fourth aspect is kitchenware in your cupboards, pantries, or boxed up elsewhere. The fifth aspect is linens in your linen closet, your bathrooms or guest room accordingly. The sixth aspect is furniture in your living room, your dining room, your bedrooms, and going through the necessity of those items. Now, the seventh item is electronics on your shelves, sitting in a drawer or somewhere else. And number 8 has to do with miscellaneous items. So this could be miscellaneous boxes you haven't gone through in forever. It could be tools, auto parts, various aspects in your shop, in your shed, or in your garage accordingly. But quickly going through these 8 items will give you maybe a starting point so that you can simplify what you own. Now, my call to action is to incorporate this process of documenting and simplifying what you own and ensuring that those items that truly do matter to you are documented for the future. If this information is helpful to you, please do like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you're reminded to come back on a daily basis and improve in managing your personal finances. Thank you for your time. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.